This is the highest-rated revenge suspense masterpiece in Korean film history. After its release, the film created a huge sensation internationally, and director Park Chan-wook soared to fame with this work, not only sweeping all 3 major Korean film awards for Best Director that year, but also winning the jury prize at the 57th Cannes Film Festival and Best Asian Film at the 24th Hong Kong Film Awards, instantly becoming a top international director. However, despite winning countless awards, this film was highly controversial due to its subject matter, and to this day many countries still classify it as a permanently banned restricted movie. Without further ado, let's dive into this classic crime revenge film. The story begins inside a police station in Seoul, where a middle-aged man is arrested for causing trouble while drunk. The man's name is Oh Dae-soo, an ordinary office worker in the city. Today is his 3-year-old daughter's birthday. He had bought her a gift to bring home, but after drinking too much, he got into an argument with someone, and in the end he was taken to the police station. Fortunately, his close friend Joo-hwan rushed over in the heavy rain and managed to bail him out. After being released, the two quickly called home to reassure the family. But just as Joo-hwan finished the call, something strange happened. Dae-soo, who had been standing right behind him, suddenly vanished into thin air. Joo-hwan frantically shouted and searched everywhere, but there was no response. Only the birthday gift Dae-soo had bought for his daughter was left on the ground. 2 months quickly passed, and inside a private prison, Dae-soo poked his head out of a small door. It turned out he was not dead. Ever since disappearing outside the phone booth that night, he had been imprisoned here, and it had already been 2 months. Dae-soo still had no idea who he had offended, or what his captor's purpose was.
잠깐만요. 여기 뭐 하는데요? 개새끼야. 너 시호가한테 나 그만 가르쳐줘. 한 달 아니면 2 달이야. 아니 3 달.
The most terrifying thing for a person is when there is no hope, and in this endless prison, Dae-soo lived a dark life day after day. Every meal was the same unappetizing dumplings. The only window in the room was fake, and his only entertainment was an old television that only played 3 channels: fitness, cooking, and news. To prevent him from developing mental illness due to long-term stress, the room would release a sedative gas every day, forcing him to sleep. One day, Dae-soo was once again knocked out by the gas, and 2 men in suits entered, cleaned the room, cut his hair, and then took a vial of his blood. At first, he thought this was just a routine procedure, but the next day, he saw a shocking news report on television. His wife had been murdered at home, and police found his hair and blood at the scene, making the missing Dae-soo the prime suspect. This news hit Dae-soo like a knife in the throat, and he felt as if countless ants were crawling out of his body, leaving him so desperate that he tried to take his own life. But no matter how many times he tried, he was always saved. Dae-soo finally realized his captor didn't want him dead, but wanted to torture him slowly in this place. He gave up the thought of suicide. Since he could not die, he might as well try to live. So, after 2 years in captivity, Dae-soo began to regain his spirit, punching the wall to train every day, recording his life in prison. To keep track of time, he used an ink-stained wire to carve marks on his hand, 1 mark for each year. 6 years passed in this way, and finally, a turning point came. The person delivering dumplings mistakenly gave him an extra chopstick, and this gave Dae-soo hope, because with that chopstick, he could start digging through the wall to escape. He began scratching at the wall every day, but the chopstick was inefficient and fragile, and it could break at any moment. Time passed day by day, and by the 9th year of his imprisonment, Dae-soo finally pried loose his first brick, filling him with joy and reigniting his will to live. In the following years, aside from boxing practice and writing his diary, he devoted every moment to digging the wall, never giving up no matter how the outside world changed. Until one day, after 15 long years, he finally managed to break through the outer wall. The long-lost rain made Dae-soo ecstatic, and it seemed he would finally gain freedom within a month. But that night, he was sedated once again, and a woman in a cheongsam entered, sitting by his bed, chanting incantations and shaking a bell. When Dae-soo woke again, he was on the rooftop of an abandoned building, blinded by the sunlight he hadn't seen in so long. He never imagined that after all those years of digging with a chopstick, in the end it was his captor who released him. Clearly, his escape had always been under their control, and the purpose was to make him feel the pain of futile effort and despair. But Dae-soo knew he could not give in. His family was gone, and the most important thing now was to find the one behind all this, and take revenge. At night, he stood outside a sushi restaurant, staring hungrily at the fish in the tank. Just then, a beggar approached and handed him a wallet and a phone before walking away. Though puzzled, Dae-soo was relieved to finally have money for food. As soon as he sat down inside the restaurant, the phone rang, and at last he heard the voice of the mysterious man.
옷은 마음에 들어요?
내가 누구냐?
누굴 것 같아요? 난 일종의 학자죠. 전공은 당신이고 5대 수학 학자. 뭐 내가 중요하진 않아요. 왜가 중요하지. 인생을 통째로 복습하는 거야.
After hanging up, Dae-soo's anger boiled over. He grabbed the live octopus from his plate and devoured it in large bites, but soon he collapsed on the table. Years of exposure to the gas had conditioned him to fall asleep at a certain time. When he awoke, he found himself in the home of the young female chef. Her name was Mi-do, and after stumbling upon Dae-soo's prison diary, she was deeply drawn to his strange story. Like Dae-soo, Mi-do also often saw ants when she was lonely and sad, which gave her an odd sense of connection with him, and she decided to help him uncover the truth. Through inquiries, Mi-do discovered the whereabouts of Dae-soo's daughter. After his wife's death, she had been adopted by a Swedish couple. But just when he had her address in hand, Dae-soo hesitated, deciding he must first find the mysterious man who had imprisoned him and destroy him, or he could not face his daughter. In such a vast city, finding a stranger seemed impossible, so Dae-soo decided to start by locating the prison. Although he did not know its exact location, he had eaten the same dumplings for 15 years, their taste unforgettable, and those dumplings came from a restaurant called Blue Dragon. So he and Mi-do listed every Blue Dragon restaurant in the city and began trying them one by one. But after dozens of attempts, they still found nothing. Just when they were losing hope, something strange happened. Mi-do was video chatting with a friend online, and when the man saw Dae-soo, he called him by name and even asked, "How were the last 15 years in prison?" before abruptly logging off. Clearly, this man had some connection with the mysterious captor. Although Mi-do firmly insisted she did not know this person, Dae-soo still became suspicious of her identity, and he stormed out of Mi-do's home, parting ways with her. Not long after, Dae-soo finally found the restaurant that delivered the dumplings. It was a Chinese restaurant called Purple Blue Dragon. Following the delivery boy's route, Dae-soo ran after him, and eventually discovered the place where he had been locked up for 15 years. It was a very hidden private prison, specializing in secretly imprisoning people for their clients, and the length of detention depended on how much the customer paid. In order to find out who had imprisoned him, Dae-soo tied up the prison warden, and without hesitation, used pliers to pull out several of his teeth. Seeing this, the warden had no choice but to confess. He did not know who the client was, because to protect privacy, they never made transactions face to face. However, the warden had kept a backup. He secretly recorded all the phone calls with the client. With the warden's cooperation, Dae-soo managed to retrieve his recording tape. But as he was about to leave the prison, the hallways were suddenly surrounded by hired thugs. In the dark corridor, a brutal fight broke out instantly, and thanks to years of boxing practice in captivity, Dae-soo fought his way through the crowd. Even though he was stabbed several times, he still managed to get back on his feet and knock everyone down. After finally making it out, Dae-soo was drenched in blood from head to toe, and collapsed onto the sidewalk after only a few steps. At that moment, a kind young man helped him up and put him into a taxi. But just as Dae-soo said thank you, the young man suddenly leaned his head into the window.
잘 가라고 대소.
Only then did Dae-soo realize this young man was the mysterious person who had locked him up for 15 years. When Dae-soo woke again, he found himself back in Mi-do's home, and although Mi-do had bandaged his wounds, Dae-soo still did not trust her, so while she was asleep, he went to the internet cafe run by his old friend Ju-won. After being separated for 15 years, the two friends hugged and wept, then began analyzing the recording tape to figure out who the mysterious man was. But no matter how they thought it through, they found nothing, and had to continue searching online for clues. Suddenly, someone with the screen name Evergreen invited Dae-soo to chat, claiming to be the mysterious man who had imprisoned him. Dae-soo immediately remembered this Evergreen had appeared before in Mi-do's friend list, so he rushed back to Mi-do's home and interrogated her harshly. Just then, Ju-won called, saying he had tracked down Evergreen's address, and that was when Dae-soo discovered Evergreen lived right across from Mi-do's apartment. Without hesitation, he grabbed his pliers and rushed over, only to find that the man had already been waiting for him. Evergreen turned out to be the same young man Dae-soo had met earlier, and he made no effort to hide his identity, declaring that everything was just a game. If Dae-soo could uncover the truth within 5 days, he would take his own life. Otherwise, both Dae-soo and Mi-do would die. In a rage, Dae-soo wanted to end it right there, but Evergreen pulled out a switch connected to his pacemaker, saying that if Dae-soo broke the rules, he would press the button and die instantly, and Dae-soo would never learn the truth. Evergreen had clearly grasped Dae-soo's weakness, and Dae-soo knew that before killing this madman, he had to uncover the truth, or else he could never explain to his daughter the 15 years of suffering. Before leaving, Evergreen warned Dae-soo, Mi-do might be in danger right now, and upon hearing this, Dae-soo sprinted back to her home. Sure enough, the prison warden had kidnapped Mi-do, planning to pull out all of Dae-soo's teeth as revenge for his own missing ones. Just as he was about to act, Evergreen's silver-haired bodyguard appeared, bringing a large case full of cash, and told the warden not to trouble Dae-soo during the 5 days. The warden had no choice but to take the money and leave, but Dae-soo stopped him, because the warden had just touched Mi-do inappropriately, and Dae-soo demanded that he leave behind that hand. The warden ignored him, swaggering away with his man. After this incident, Dae-soo finally stopped doubting Mi-do. Their feelings for each other grew stronger, and they unleashed their passion together in a motel. But while they were asleep, poisonous gas once again drifted in through the crack of the door, and Evergreen walked in wearing a mask, not only taking photos of them after their intimacy, but also leaving a purple gift box on the table. When Dae-soo woke up and opened it, he found inside the severed hand of the prison warden. This left him even more confused about what Evergreen was trying to do, but through this he became certain of one thing, that he and Mi-do were definitely being followed. The two immediately went to an electronics market, and sure enough, they found a tracker hidden in their shoe soles. After removing the trackers, they met up with Ju-won again, and this time they discovered something new online. There was a website called Evergreen Alumni Association, and its homepage was the high school that Dae-soo and Ju-won had attended. Dae-soo and Mi-do quickly drove there, and in the library, they finally made an important discovery. In the alumni records there was a person named Lee Woo-jin, who turned out to be the mysterious Evergreen, and 2 other details stood out. One was that a girl named Lee Soo-ah had her photo cut out, and the other was a hair salon flyer tucked inside. The pattern on the back, identical to that of the gift box, clearly planted there intentionally. Dae-soo quickly told Ju-won about these findings and asked if he knew the 2 people. Although Ju-won did not know Lee Woo-jin, he was very familiar with the name Lee Soo-ah, because she had been his classmate. Ju-won said that at the time, she had a very bad reputation in school, and everyone spread rumors that she was a promiscuous girl, and unable to bear the gossip, she jumped into the river and took her own life not long after. As Ju-won spoke with scorn about these old rumors, he did not realize that Lee Woo-jin was sitting right across from him, and Lee Woo-jin was in fact Lee Soo-ah's younger brother. He snapped a CD in half and then stabbed it into Ju-won's neck again and again, until he could no longer move.
어르신, 우리 누나는요, 당신이 도청장치를 다 없애버려가지고 엿들으려고요. 그러니까 노주환 씨는
Ju-won's death made Dae-soo realize the seriousness of the situation, and his top priority now was to protect Mi-do. He went to the prison warden, hoping to hide Mi-do temporarily in his private prison. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and since Lee Woo-jin had cut off the warden's hand, the warden agreed without hesitation to Dae-soo's request. Soon after, Dae-soo followed the flyer to a hair salon, and the owner immediately recognized him, because she too had attended that high school back then. The owner told Dae-soo that Lee Soo-ah was not as promiscuous as the rumors claimed. She was actually a very innocent girl, and her death was not because of gossip, but most likely because she was pregnant. Seeing Dae-soo still confused, the owner called her close friend to confirm, asking who had originally spread the rumors at the time. And with that question, the truth came closer. The one who spread the rumor was Ju-won, and Ju-won had heard it from Dae-soo. As the doorbell of the salon rang, childhood memories suddenly flooded Dae-soo's mind, and the truth began to unfold. Time rewound to Dae-soo's high school days, and since he was transferring schools the next day, he wandered around the campus alone on the weekend. There he met a quiet-looking girl, who turned out to be Lee Soo-ah. Though he did not know her, they chatted briefly on a bench, but Lee Soo-ah soon left in a hurry. Bored, Dae-soo wandered into the classrooms, and suddenly he saw Lee Soo-ah and a boy running into the science lab, so he followed them. Through the window, he saw the two chasing and playing around, and then the boy pulled down Lee Soo-ah's underwear just as they became intimate. Lee Soo-ah spotted Dae-soo watching, and he panicked and ran away. Before transferring schools, he told his friend Ju-won about what he saw, and warned him not to spread it, but Ju-won told his girlfriend, and soon the whole school knew. Not long after, Lee Soo-ah jumped into the river and ended her life, and the boy at that time was actually her brother, Lee Woo-jin. The truth was finally revealed, and the fifth day had arrived. The reason Lee Woo-jin chose this day as the deadline was because it was the anniversary of his sister Lee Soo-ah's death. Mi-do tried to persuade Dae-soo to stop, saying that since the truth was already known, they should not step into Lee Woo-jin's trap, and instead run away together and leave this place. But Dae-soo ignored Mi-do's advice, insisting on revenge against Lee Woo-jin, not knowing that this decision would lead him into eternal damnation. Based on Lee Woo-jin's words that he lived in a high tower, Dae-soo found the tallest building in the city, and sure enough, there he encountered Lee Woo-jin and his silver-haired bodyguard. The three rode the elevator calmly to the top floor, where Lee Woo-jin's men immediately attacked Dae-soo, but they were no match for him, and he quickly knocked them all down. Meanwhile, Lee Woo-jin remained calm, bathing and changing clothes as if nothing was happening. According to their agreement, as long as Dae-soo uncovered the truth within 5 days, Lee Woo-jin would take his own life. Dae-soo laid out the results of his investigation, and upon seeing the photos on the wall, he made another shocking discovery. Among them was a photo from the day Lee Soo-ah died at the river, proving that Lee Woo-jin had been there too, so Dae-soo boldly speculated that Lee Soo-ah might not have taken her own life, but was pushed into the river by Lee Woo-jin. Lee Woo-jin did not deny this speculation. Instead, he said he had an even more interesting story to tell Dae-soo, and this story would bring the film to its climax. It turned out that after Dae-soo was released, everything had been arranged by Lee Woo-jin. He had the hypnotist hypnotize both Dae-soo and Mi-do. When Dae-soo answered the first phone call at the sushi restaurant, Mi-do's hypnosis was also activated, so everything they did afterward, including going from liking each other to finally sleeping together, was all carried out under Lee Woo-jin's instructions. And the reason why he went through such painstaking planning, the answer was all in the purple gift box on the table. Dae-soo stepped forward and opened it, finding a black photo album inside, filled with childhood photos of his daughter. But as he turned the pages, his heart felt as though it was being twisted by knives. He never imagined that Mi-do was actually his biological daughter, and this was Lee Woo-jin's true plan for revenge. Dae-soo went mad and charged at Lee Woo-jin, but was blocked by the silver-haired bodyguard. The two immediately wrestled, and in the chaos Dae-soo stabbed the bodyguard's ear with scissors, which drove him insane, unable to hear Lee Woo-jin's command to stop. With no choice, Lee Woo-jin shot the bodyguard dead because his revenge was not over yet, and Dae-soo could not be allowed to die now. At that moment, in front of Mi-do, there was a box identical to the one before. It turned out the prison warden was also part of Lee Woo-jin's plan. He traded one building for the warden's severed hand, successfully gaining Dae-soo's trust and keeping Mi-do in the private prison. Dae-soo hurriedly picked up the phone and shouted, telling Mi-do not to open the box. To beg for Lee Woo-jin's forgiveness, Dae-soo knelt down in front of him, barking like a dog, even licking his shoes desperately with his tongue. But the more helpless he was, the more gleeful Lee Woo-jin became. With no other choice, Dae-soo picked up the scissors on the floor, grabbed his tongue tightly, and with a snap, cut off his own tongue as a way of taking responsibility for the mistake he had made. Seeing this, Lee Woo-jin finally showed some mercy, and ordered the warden by phone not to let Mi-do open the box. Everything seemed to be over, but just as Lee Woo-jin was about to leave, the switch for his pacemaker accidentally fell to the floor. Dae-soo quickly picked it up, and in that moment the situation reversed. Would it be revenge or mercy? It seemed that everything was now in Dae-soo's hands, yet Lee Woo-jin ignored him and walked toward the elevator. At the moment the elevator doors opened, Dae-soo finally chose to press the button, and this action pushed him straight into hell. Unexpectedly, Lee Woo-jin did not die. Instead, the room filled with the sound of Dae-soo and Mi-do's intimacy. It turned out that the switch was not for a pacemaker at all, but a remote control for a recorder. Everything just now had only been a test. Lee Woo-jin had orchestrated everything, waiting for this very moment, for Dae-soo to press the button himself. At last, his entire plan for revenge was complete. Now the empty room echoed with the sounds of his daughter Mi-do, piercing Dae-soo's heart like 1,000 arrows. But even after carrying out his perfect revenge, Lee Woo-jin did not find peace. As his mind replayed the scene by the river, Dae-soo's final speculation was wrong. Lee Woo-jin had not killed his sister. When their incestuous affair spread through the school, Lee Soo-ah wanted to take Lee Woo-jin with her to leave this world, but in the end, he lacked the courage, and could only watch helplessly as his sister sank into the river alone. Now, Lee Woo-jin's hands slowly formed the shape of a gun, and in the end, he chose to take his own life, to go to another world and reunite with his sister. Time shifted to winter. In the deep mountains, Dae-soo found the hypnotist. Unable to speak without a tongue, he wrote his request on paper. Dae-soo wanted her to hypnotize him again, to erase all the unbearable memories. The hypnotist agreed. When Dae-soo woke again, he found himself lying alone in the snow. At that moment, Mi-do appeared in red, looking at him with deep concern, rubbing his hands to keep him warm. Finally, the two embraced each other.
사랑해요.
The film ended here. Oldboy was the most brilliant of Park Chan-wook's Vengeance trilogy, but many viewers said they did not understand it, and some even called it trash promoting incest. In fact, what the film truly wanted to express was not incest. Such a distorted relationship only represents a few rare individuals. What the film really spoke of was the fate of these individuals, and in a vast social system, such fates often end only in tragedy. Clearly, the tragedy of Lee Woo-jin and his sister was not caused by Dae-soo's words alone. Their relationship was doomed to be rejected by society from the beginning, and it was the weight of social morality that truly killed Lee Soo-ah, which became the root of Lee Woo-jin's twisted plan for revenge. But is society's restraint over individuals always just? One line in the film was repeated many times: even if I am a beast, don't I have the right to live? Perhaps this was what the director wanted to express, hoping for more tolerance and acceptance of individuals by society. Alright, thank you for watching, see you next time.